many stars in the world that could lure me from the warm comfort of my London Life Story studio to come to their patch. But then, let's be honest, there's only one Donny Osmond.
Chicago, Chicago.
Chicago is so close to my heart because this is where I started in show business.
Chicago, Chicago.
Piers, you never know what he's going to ask you. I got to be ready for anything.
I'm going to ask him about how isolated he felt when he grew up, about his difficult relationship with his father, about the extraordinarily sad and lonely days he spent in show business wilderness.
When you're talking to Piers Morgan, you gotta be open. You gotta be honest. You gotta be real because I think he can read between the lines.
I'm gonna find out what lies beneath the Donny Osmond halo. Donny, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing great.
So this is the extraordinary
Very
thing
good to
about
see you
It's
again.
great to see you, but let's cut to the quick.
All right.
Chicago has always played this oddly sort of pivotal part of your life.
Well, you know why?
No, tell me.
This is where it all started.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I made my debut on the Andy Williams show. And my brothers had this Christmas tour with Andy all booked. And Chicago was on the tour, but I wasn't. But everybody said, well, where's that little kid that just debuted on your television show? And Andy called home. And my mom, I don't know how she did this. She put her little 5-year-old boy on a plane to Chicago to join my father and my brothers. And I remember running out on stage. And after the song, I heard all these whistles and claps and noise and screams and hollers and these flash bulbs. And it freaked me out. And I ran off stage. And he said, Donny, get back here. This is all for you. It was that moment, Piers, that I thought, I got to do this the rest of my life.
Donny, during your 50-year career, I have read things about you and your relationship with your fans and the lengths they've gone to over the years to get to Donny Osmond, which have made my hair stand on end, never mind yours. And I want to just go through some of these to find out if they're actually true.
Okay.
Is it true that one girl tried to post herself to you in the mail?
Yes. I didn't actually see this. I was told that the post office stopped it. They said, something's suspicious about this box. You know, there's some air pockets or something in there, and you realize there's something alive inside this box.
This girl had put herself in a box and mailed herself to Donny Osmond.
Yeah.
At the right address?
Yeah, I guess. Somebody stopped it.
How far did she get?
Oh, not very far. They stopped it right away. The one that really freaks me out is the one that tried to rappel down the side of a hotel building. This was in Florida at the old Diplomat Hotel. And we saw the rope. The rope was dangling. And we thought, what in the world is that? And we walk out in the balcony, and this girl had started to put her legs over the... She was going to go down. She checked herself in a room.
Going to abseil down the side of the building?
Down the side of the building, get on our balcony and get to us.
In 1973,
yes,
so many girls turned up to meet the Osmonds at Heathrow Airport that a whole balcony collapsed.
Yes.
10,000 fans.
Yes.
Going crazy. Luckily, no one was hurt. And, of course, it was mainly centered around you, this horrible little man called Donny Osmond, who every girl I had my eye on at the age of 8 suddenly just migrated to.
I did all that just to bug you, Piers. So that's the whole mission. No, I remember that moment. We were waving at all the fans, and I saw this thing collapse, and I saw the dust, and I thought, this can't be happening.
When you walked out to that kind of scene, what goes through your mind? Scary? Exciting? I mean, you were, what, 17, 18?
I remember a show at the Rainbow Theater. You remember the Rainbow
Yeah, of
Theater?
course.
Everybody was so scared for me. And there were guards, there were, you know, roadies all over the place, my brothers, and don't you go close to the audience. Well, what do? I go close to the audience because I want to get pulled in. And so I'm shaking the hands, and they're pulling me in, and my brothers are pulling me back, saying, no, let me go, because I wanted to do one of those body surfing things, you know? And, but nobody ever let me do it because they said it was just too dangerous.
Well, it would have been. The worst thing you ever did to these fans, the thing that broke all their hearts, was you got married.
Yeah. My sweetheart.
You were 20 years old, 1978, your sweetheart Debbie. Millions of girls all over the world screamed in horror, fury. Yeah. That too must have been, I don't know, I would imagine a very sort of bittersweet time for you, where you would have known the terrible distress you're causing these poor girls.
No, I didn't. I had no idea. The only thing I was worried about was myself at that point in time, because I needed somebody. I needed that person, that confidant, that partner. Because think about it, Piers. I'm going from, performing in these arenas and these stadiums and all these screaming fans and all this adulation, and I go back to a silent hotel room.
Yeah.
I'm a good little Mormon boy, okay? So nothing is going on. And I'm all by myself after one extreme to the other. That really messes with your head. And I started dating this little girl, Debbie Glenn. She was 15, I was 16. And I dated her for 3.5 years secretly.
No one knew?
Nobody knew. It eventually started getting out. My dad was pretty upset about it because he said, our careers are based upon, this Donny Osmond persona, this Donny Osmond availability, this single. All these girls want Donny Osmond. You get married, and that's not going to work.
See, that's not a normal father-son conversation to have. A normal father may say, hey, you may be a bit young, but if you love this girl, they'd see it that way. Your father was looking at it from a commercial point of view.
Let's don't paint a real bad picture of this guy. He was a wonderful man.
Yeah.
But he was concerned. That was the family's livelihood. And by me getting married, it did exactly what he thought it would do. The career went into the toilet.
Your marriage killed it.
It killed it, yeah. I mean, let's call it the way it is. I mean, we can sugarcoat it as much as possible. But Piers, I got pictures of Donny Osmond record-burning parties. There are these piles of my records that they would douse with fuel and burn them and have a party because I was now married.
How did the rest of your family react to you getting married? Did they all feel, when they saw the reaction, that this could also damage their careers?
Well, I do know that my brother Merrill said it was because of me that he didn't have a rock and roll career. Because the Osmonds are known as a teeny bopper band, but we were a progressive rock and roll band, if you really dig into what we were doing. The Plan album, Crazy Horses, even Ozzy Osbourne told me that's one of his favorite rock and roll songs. But because of Donny Osmond, none of that came to fruition.
Did you at any stage regret getting married, if you're honest?
Not one bit. I hate to think, Piers, what I'd be like if I didn't meet Debbie, if I didn't have her in my life.
Donny, over your 50-year career, you've become this sort of iconic pop legend. Let's take a little look at some of the highlights here. Donny Osmond, the all-American boy who became a British obsession.
I love his eyes, I love his teeth, I love him.
Donny is a stud.
Donny was the original teen idol.
There's only one of him. Donny Osmond is special.
In the 1970s, a young Donny sang his way into the hearts of millions of teenage girls.
I just lived, breathed, ate Donny.
I really thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
I first realised I'd fallen in love with Donny when every single penny I had for pocket money I spent on posters.
And his biggest solo hit was the perfect soundtrack for all that teenage longing.
And they called it
Puppy
love. I'm not going to sing the other part.
Oh, I guess they'll never know.
Oh, Donny.
I think Puppy Love does exactly what it needs to do. It attracts the women, and it repels the guys.
The UK was gripped by scenes of Osmond mania, and Donny was at the heart of it.
I remember flying in to Heathrow, getting off, we waved, and the balcony had given out because there was way too many people.
These girls were fueled up with passion, and they wanted every bit of Donny.
Donny, would you come up and...
Donny cut his perfect showbiz teeth aged just 5, joining his older brothers, who were already regulars on top American TV series The Andy Williams Show.
Little Donny came on and sang You Are My Sunshine.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy.
He was unbelievable.
On stage, Donny and his brothers always made it look so easy, but conquering the entertainment world at such a young age came at a price.
I think his childhood was extremely difficult, being in the public's eye.
Our dad was a pleaser, and he instilled that into us. I mean, think about it. You know, you have to go on stage, live television show. You have to deliver or you're going to let the family down. That pressure as a kid is a killer.
The announcer would say, the Osmonds are up next, and they're going to do this in one take. We could not make a mistake. Osmonds don't make mistakes.
As their worldwide fame grew, the Osmonds were completely cut off from normal life.
They've grown up in this business, and we never let it interfere with our private lives. We keep a close family tie.
It was unbelievable amount of isolation. In the earlier years,
we couldn't go outside. We had bodyguards everywhere. It was kind of weird. You felt like almost in some ways something was wrong with you, you know.
The family's Mormon faith also made them rock and roll outsiders.
People saw them as very squeaky clean. No coffee, no tea, no groupies.
I think that any guy who has any kind of an ego at all loves the ideas of having gals follow him. My goodness, who doesn't? Donny's wouldn't just follow him, they'd attack him.
Donny really didn't have a social life. He didn't date. I mean, he was always work, 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 work.
I think he was lonely, and he was afraid to really open his heart up to too many people.
How do you feel watching that? I mean, it made me feel rather sad. It made you feel sad. Does that bring back the bad memories you had of that time, the reality of being Donny Osmond?
Take any little teenager, you know, they go to school, they have their friends, they have a social life. Take all that away from them, and you take away their life. My life was defined by the press. Don't define who I am. Yeah, I sang that song, but I'm more than just that. That's what was missing. That's what Debbie brought to me.
What's the thing, when you look back on it, that you wished you'd been able to experience that you never could?
Going to school, having a friend come over, you know, going to a movie theater with a buddy. You know, things that people take for granted. Oh, that's normal. It wasn't normal to me. It was so foreign. And what's really interesting is that when guys come to the audience, or came to the audience, I should say, back in the 80s or the 90s, it would freak me out. It's like, oh, they're here to mock me.
Well, I wanted to kill you, so I speak for the
nation. That's why I had a lot of anxiety, because of you.
Yeah, but you understand just about the destructive damage you did to all our love life. You've never apologized to me. I had to go through my entire teenage years with every girl I fancied basically being in love with Donny Osmond. You owe me, and men of my generation, an apology.
Okay, I'm very, very sorry. Apologize. Not really. I'm undressing, you know, and I hear this noise in the bathroom. And I walk in, there's two girls in my shower.
I'm told, and you can correct this, that you're actually a little bit naughtier than you've led on. I'm told you used to deploy roadies to identify girls that you like the look of, and they would then be brought in for a chat, and you would then give them a code which they could attach to letters to you.
Where did you find all this stuff, dude?
So you would know which ones they were. Is that true?
It's actually true. All right, let me tell you what it was. It was, if I got a letter, I told the fan club people, if I ever got a letter with a circle and a line down the middle, okay, that was the secret code. Because my name is Donald Clark Osmond, DCO. So there's a D, there's a C, and there's an O.
What would you then do with them?
Not a lot. My hands were tied as far as that's concerned.
Presumably there wasn't much you could do.
No.
Was it brothers and sisters? Or
no, we'd come back and, you know, just chat and shake hands and say, see you later. But you know what I did do? I had pictures of these girls that I kept in my wallet. And,
did you really?
I really did.
Well, all of them.
I can't believe I'm disclosing this. But on our bus rides, I would take the lower bunk. And I would put these girls' pictures on the top of the bunk. And nobody ever looked up underneath, so that was, I would look at these girls and just dream. I would think, someday I can have a girlfriend. Someday. And I met Debbie, and I fell madly in love with her.
And because of your faith, I think, and the sense of family you had and stuff, you've written about this yourself. You know, Debbie was the one. You didn't have sex before you got married. So
no,
you've only ever had sex with one woman. Do you ever, if you're honest, have you ever wondered what it would have been like to have sowed your oats a little more wildly?
Dude, I'm a normal guy. Come on, come on. I've had all kinds of opportunities present themselves to me. You know, it's a temptation all the time. You know.
Do you still get that?
Oh, still get that.
What's the most shameless recently?
I don't know why this one pops in my mind, but it was over in Ireland last time I was touring there. I get off the stage. I don't even think I told Debbie this. I get off the stage and I'm undressing, you know, and I hear this noise in the bathroom. And I walk in. There's two girls in my shower.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, ladies, it's time to leave.
How long did it take you to say that?
About 4 hours.
Were they remotely apologetic for their outrageous
No, they were quite drunk.
They wanted some puppy love.
Oh, they wanted a lot of, no, they wanted a little more than puppy love.
Let's turn to your parents, George and Olive. You were born in Utah in 1957. Interesting footage of your father there. You know, he looked a very proud man, a very handsome man. You can see where you all get the looks from. Tell me about him.
He was a strict father.
Did he physically discipline you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, that was the way back in the 50s and the 60s. You know, you take your belt and you...
And what's the reality of that? I mean, do you feel any mental scars from the physical discipline? Or did you think, you know what, that was fine?
You know, it's funny because I've thought a lot about this. Despite the lickings and the spankings that I got, I love that guy. I admire him because look what he did to his life. He was a nobody, and the world knows his last name. He conquered and overcame adversity. I love him. I can hardly wait to see him again one of these days. I believe I will.
He died, actually, not that long ago.
No, it wasn't very long ago. And
what was your relationship like with him towards the end?
Perfect.
Did he mellow with age?
I cried my eyes out when he died.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because you felt what?
I am who I am because of him. I don't think I could have survived in this business had he not taught me how to work, how to focus, how to conquer.
What was your mom like?
Loving, very kind. When my dad would discipline me, she would always be the soft hand. It would always go to her and she'd console. You know, it's okay, he's on one of his... Whatever.
Did she ever have any concerns about pushing all her kids into the business? Did it ever make her feel guilty?
Never came across to me. Maybe my other brothers would have a different perspective. But no, she, again, was very, very supportive. It was our business, Piers. It's how we made a living. It was our livelihood. She kept this family together, Piers. I mean, let's give them the accolades and the kudos that they deserve, because keeping 9 children together in a world called show business, kudos to them.
At one stage on a tour of Sweden, you were so homesick, you wrote a cry for help to your mother.
Yeah.
What happened when you did that?
Oh, my father had us write letters back home every week. I was 7, I think. And I wrote this one letter, and my father would have us read it to him. Okay, read me what you wrote your mom. And I started reading, and I skipped over an entire section. And I basically said, Mom, I want to come home. I want to play in my sandbox. I want to play with my trucks. I don't like it out here. Daddy's being too mean. And I just want to come home. I didn't read that part. The mistake I made was that I told Jay. Jay ratted on me. He told Father. And that didn't go over very well.
How did he react?
I got a spanking for it. I thought that was one mistake he made.
Too hard.
It was too hard at that point in time.
At the time that you were growing up and going through all this, so was somebody else, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Tell me about Michael Jackson and your relationship with him over the years.
Well, I kind of protect that because we had a pretty special relationship. As a matter of fact, we're both the seventh child of both 9 children.
Wow.
And
amazing.
Same age, yeah. Jermaine was the kind of like the other soloist. He was the middleman of the Jackson 5. Merrill was the middleman of the Osmonds. He was the other soloist. Our mother's birthdays are the same day.
Really?
Oh, it goes on and on and on. The parallels are ridiculous.
Tough disciplinarian father.
Tough disciplinarian father. But the Mike I knew was a very kind-hearted, soft-spoken, loving individual. I'll never forget, I was at the old A&M Records in Los Angeles, and he had to go to a record company over to see Quincy. And he needed a ride. I said, "Oh, I'll give you a ride." And this is just before Thriller was about to come. As a matter of fact, he had a cassette. He says, "I want you to hear something, Donny." And he played this. I said, "Okay, this is going to be big." I said, "Mike, I want to be on the chart. I want to be doing that. How do I do it?" And he said, "You got to change your name."
Did he really?
He said, "Your name is Poison. You've got your image has got to change."
How long did you stay in touch with Michael?
Till the end.
Really?
Well, about a year till the end. I'm going to tell you a story. Now that he's gone, I can disclose this. He called me about maybe a year before he died. And I was on the road somewhere. I can't remember where I was, and the phone rings. It's, "Donny?" "Mike, is that you?" "Hi, Donny." You know, his sweet little voice. I said, "Where are you?" He says, "I can't tell you." I said, "Mike, hey, you're talking to me. Come on, where are you?" He says, "I'm in Phoenix. Please don't tell anybody where I'm at," because I just had to get away. He rented this, I guess, this custom motorhome, this bus, put his kids in it, went to somewhere in Phoenix just to hide, to get away. I said, "Mike, do me a favor. Get in that bus, drive up to Utah, come to my house. Nobody will know you're here. Kids can go swimming in the backyard, play with my kids, and you'll feel what normalcy feels like," because I found it. He said, "Okay." And he never took me up on the offer. That was the last time I talked to him. I couldn't wrap my arms around it. We lost a genius, and the business took him.
It's a tough business.
Yeah.
And one thing's for sure, it's not been an easy ride for you. Let's take a look at this. In 1971, the Osmonds scored their first US #1 with an R&B track.
I can tell you've been hurt by that look on your face, girl.
One Bad Apple was pitched to the Jacksons first, and they passed on it. And it became our very first iconic record, and it did sound quite a bit like the Jackson 5.
Everybody gives huge shout-outs to the Jackson 5 for being cutting edge. But the Osmonds were cutting edge at that time, too. They were doing exactly the same kind of music, only they were white.
The Osmonds also penned a rock classic. Crazy Horses reached #2 in the UK.
And that's the one that did it for me, really. I thought these guys and the way they moved and the way they performed was terrific.
The Osmonds as a band hit the big time, but Donny's star was starting to shine brighter than his brothers.
The thing about Donny stepping forward was not really a design. It was just simply a test, and that test went bonkers. Every radio station in America played it.
There is always a person that represents, in a way, the star power of the group. And Donny was it.
A string of massive hits put Donny firmly in the spotlight, pushing his brothers to the back.
The other boys kind of got the bum end of the deal because Donny was thrust forward so fast at such a young age, and I think it just spun out of control.
But it was very hard, very hurtful for some of the brothers because they were all so talented.
In 1976, Donny and his 16-year-old sister Marie, already a star in her own right, were offered their own variety show on TV.
The Donny and Marie show was an appointment to view. I would not miss it for anything. I sat back close to the TV screen and I loved him.
But being a major TV star did no favors for Donny's musical career.
Donny wanted to come across cool, you know, he was that age, and now he's dressing up as Captain Purple with the purple wig and mocking it all.
In 1979, after 4 series, the Donny and Marie show was axed. Donny's bid to stay in the limelight was a big Broadway production.
Little Johnny Jones was something Donny had his heart set on as finally going to Broadway. And I remember talking to Donny prior to it, and he was so excited. He said, Merrill, I think this is it.
But on Broadway, critics ruled the roost.
The review came out, it was early in the morning, and we read it and realized it was over.
With one reviewer describing Donny as positively obnoxious, the show bombed.
We opened and closed the same night.
It really marked one of the very first failures of his life.
Things got even worse when it emerged the family's entire fortune had vanished.
I really blame ourselves because we weren't into the detail, we were just about making money.
Millions and millions and millions of dollars disappeared from the coffers.
We kind of lost everything, sold off everything, and it was a shock.
What do? You just got to start back over again.
Donny needed to bring in the bucks, but it seemed the screaming fans had grown up and moved on.
And suddenly, bang, it was all over. And he weren't loved anymore.
Donny went into a very strange time. He grew a beard. He hated his image. He hated puppy love. I think he hated everything he had ever done. Donny Osmond as an individual was lost.
Wow. That's what I was thinking. That period in the 80s, about as big a fall as you could possibly imagine, given how high you were.
Well, that's it. Had it not been so high, the fall wouldn't be so great. But, you know, it's embarrassing when you're that popular and then you're that unpopular. And you go out in public and you hear somebody go, you think it's about you. And sometimes it is. The name Donny Osmond in certain circles was a joke.
There was a moment when a bunch of unruly youngsters were abusing you, and you were in the car, I think.
Oh, I was doing the show in a half-filled high school gymnasium.
Wow.
And just several years prior to that, stadiums. And this car, 6 kids pull up, and I'm refueling the motorhome that I rented to get up there. And they started laughing and making jokes and saying things that a good little Mormon boy wouldn't say. And I'm a little embarrassed to tell you this. But steam started coming out of my ears, right? And Debbie said, calm down. I said, no, I'm just going to go talk to these guys for a minute. She said, Donny, get back in the motorhome. I said, I'll be right back. And I walk over there, and their windows were down. They're yelling, Donny Osmond's in you, blankety blank, and all that stuff. So I walk up there, and they roll their windows up, and I'm banging on them, and I'm yelling the same things right back to them.
Really?
Oh, baby. I was hoping that nobody was taping me, because...
You just lost it.
I lost it. That was the moment I just lost it.
Was it cathartic?
It was so cathartic. I felt so good about it. But what was really cool about the situation is that at the very end, after I had blown off all this steam, this kid, he was 18 maybe, he rolls his window down a little bit because he was afraid of me. He said, I'm so sorry, Donny. I said, but don't you? And then I went right after him again. He said, you know what? I was wrong. You're a cool guy. And they took off. That was cathartic. I would go on stage knowing I would die.
In the 80s, millions of dollars just disappearing.
Yeah.
I mean, a shocking thing to happen.
We had our own airline, Piers. We had 3 airplanes. What are we doing in the airline business? We had our own gas station where everybody else would fill up, and we'd have to get permission to get gas, but all the employees, you know, just free gas. Stuff like that went on and on and on, and money was going out like crazy. We had to go on tour to feed the leak, you know. There was a hole in the money pocket.
Do you know how much money in the end disappeared?
I heard something like $60 million, and back in the 70s, that's a lot.
Disappeared?
Gone. Gone.
I mean, changed all your lives.
Well, it did. None of us would have really had to work anymore. We're still out there working, you know.
And as Debbie said, when it all went, you had to sell everything up?
We had to sell every single thing in order not to go bankrupt. Because our attorneys told us, you guys have to go bankrupt. You have no other choice. And my dad said, we're going to pay every single debtor, and we did.
Are you a rich man again now, would you say?
I wouldn't say rich. I still got kids to put through college. I don't really have to work if I wanted to live an ultra-conservative life. But no, I'm not rich, no.
As you said, Donny, the family fortune had gone, and you had to make money again.
Yeah.
Let's watch this.
You're a total stranger, but I feel like I know.
In the 80s, Donny tried to recapture the old magic, but things weren't going his way.
I think Donny was very aware that Donny Osmond's name on a record was destined for failure.
He worked on a record, it was called Soldier of Love, and he couldn't put it out as Donny Osmond.
Then in 1988, a DJ took matters into his own hands.
This radio station in New York got a hold of the single, and they played it anonymously. Callers kept calling in, what's that song? And it turned everything around.
It was a phenomenon. It got to #2 in the Billboard charts. No one knew it was Donny until it had achieved.
After nearly a decade in the wilderness, Donny was once again pulling heartstrings as a pop star. But he had an old score to settle with Broadway. Took a risk with an iconic role.
Joseph is very challenging. I did it for 2 years, and I remember Donny really needed that break at that time. And he was so cute. He called me up and he said, Jimmy, I know you did that. Is it okay if I do it? And I go, what are you crazy? Do it.
I closed my eyes, drew back the curtain.
I remember opening night, they just went crazy. After he sang Close Every Door, they just went crazy. It worked so hard, and it was a great moment. Sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to cry. Whew.
Suddenly he came back as a star, as Joseph. So it was Donny Osmond playing Joseph, so he could show that there was more to him.
A crash of drums, a flash of light.
The guy is an amazing, amazing singer. And he wasn't used to his full advantage during those teen years.
Donny was back and even played the role on film. It wasn't just his voice that was causing a stir.
My father would spend a lot of time going to the gym quite regularly, which was new for him. Not that he was ever like an overweight guy or anything, but he just was bulking up because he was going to be wearing a loincloth.
My goodness, did he work out. He looked like something out of a Playgirl magazine or something.
But after 2 years pulling in the crowds as Joseph, Donny was struck down with a mystery illness.
Woke up in the middle of the night with just shakes and heart palpitations. I thought at first he was having, a heart attack or something. Went down to the hospital and they basically said, you need a break.
But phoning in sick was not an option.
He had a show the next night, so with a lot of faith and prayers, he got on stage that night and worked through the panic.
It turned out to be more than a one-off case of stage fright.
Didn't realize really what he was suffering until it started to get worse, and it started to happen more often.
After being surrounded by fans all his life, Donny had developed an anxiety disorder called social phobia, a crippling fear of appearing in public.
His therapist told me one time, he said, describe for me what it feels like. She said, it's like being strapped to a railroad track and seeing the train coming and you cannot get off, and you feel like you're gonna die. That's how serious it was. So every time he went on stage, he felt that, and there was no way out.
Growing up the way we did, we all have a little bit of that anxiety. And I can remember Donny just curled up and just devastated. And that came from years of pressure.
I mean, another astonishing revelation, really, that someone with all your experience of performing could be suffering from this terrible stage fright.
It was on this very stage, Piers, where I was doing Joseph here in Chicago, where the room would start spinning because of panic. And years later, after a lot of therapy and figuring out what happened, we figured that the reason why I went through it was I lost my career. I know what that feels like. And then I got it back again. And I didn't want to lose it again.
Fear of it going again.
Fear of it losing it again. So I had to give a perfect performance. If I made a mistake one night, the following night, I would make the same mistake because I'd worry about making the mistake so much that I forget my lines. And it was just a compounding effect to where it was self-defeating.
Quite scary for you.
That word doesn't even do it justice. It was more than scary. Like my wife said, I would go on stage knowing I would die, but I'd go on anyway.
Knowing you would die? What do you mean?
That's what you feel like. You're going through such panic and fright that you know you will die. And in some ways, I shouldn't say this, but in some ways, you wish you would. You get a relief of all this pressure, of all this panic, all this. But you'd fight through it.
And again, I mean, the crucial crux of support came from your wife.
Oh, big time. She gave me some advice that really was the beginning of getting rid of it all. It was in Minneapolis at the State Theater there. And I was going through such panic, I was shaking, I was throwing things across the room. I said, get my understudy on, I'm not going on. She grabbed me. This sweet little girl grabbed me. And she said, why don't you do yourself a favor? And why don't you do the audience a favor? You go out there tonight and do an average job. Best show I ever did.
Why is there this kind of feeling about Mormons that they're a bit odd? How important to all of you is your faith? You're all Mormons. Tell me about that.
That's my life. You know, a lot of people don't agree with the tenets of what I believe. I wholeheartedly believe it. I'm a Mormon because I want to be, not because my parents were.
Why is there this kind of feeling about Mormons that they're a bit odd, do you think?
Well, because there's a lot of misconceptions.
Because you seem perfectly normal.
Yeah, me and my 17 wives, you know, we get along just great.
Is that one of the problems? People think you're all
polygamous?
Yes.
Well, the problem is there's a bunch of polygamists out there who call themselves Mormons. Right. Give us a bad name. Yes, there was that practice back in the 1800s. Very, very few people were told to practice it. But anybody practicing polygamy is excommunicated from the Mormon Church. It is not part of the
What does your faith give you?
Well, my foundation. It gives me the ability to look at life as it really is. I'm a Christian. I follow the life of Christ. And he said, love everyone. Love everyone. Gay, straight, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, well, I love them all. I don't have any prejudices but against anyone. That, in my opinion, is the true Christian.
We talked a little bit about your family, your marriage to Debbie and everything. I was told that she had a poster of Donny Osmond on her bedroom wall before you hooked up. Is that right?
That is true. Yeah, but there's
basically a fan.
Well, but there's a backstory to it. She put my poster on the back of her door. David Cassidy was on the front.
So she couldn't have Cassidy.
No.
Second best.
Second best was me. She settled for me. But what really got to me was the fact I said, honey, you did that so when people opened the door, they'd never see Donny. They'd always see David. And then she came back and said, no, but when they closed the door, I always looked at you. I said, whatever.
We talked a little bit about your marriage, but what do you think the secret is to a successful, enduring marriage?
Well, whenever we have an argument, she's always right.
And you've now accepted that?
Yeah, that keeps you married. No, I joke about that, but you know, there's a lot of truth in that, Piers. My wife and I have argued. We've disagreed. I can't say we've really argued. But I can honestly tell you, I can't remember what it was about. Because it doesn't matter. You know, you got to look at the end of the race. And it doesn't matter who wins. Just win together.
How are you in yourself now? Are you vain?
It's quite funny. I'm a little self-conscious, you'd believe this. I'm self-conscious about my smile. I don't really like my smile.
What?
I know that sounds really weird.
You have the most grotesquely good smile in the
No, I
history of show
don't.
business.
I want you to look at something. Look at the center of my teeth and look at the center of my face. It's off-centered.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, so that...
Talk about narcissism.
All right, let's get off of that.
You're probably the best-looking grandfather I've seen.
Thank you.
And that irks me almost as much as you taking all my girlfriends when I was a teenager.
Thank you.
Be honest, how did that feel when you were told you're a granddad?
I felt really old. Really old. But my nature is that I act like a kid. My wife always tells me, come on, act your age, will you?
Donny, you've been performing for 50 years, as I've said. And I came last night to witness for myself, at first hand, a bit of Donny mania. Watch this. An angel-faced 6-year-old Donny made his first ever appearance on stage in Chicago nearly 50 years ago. All these years later, he's back again. So here I am at the Oriental Theatre in Chicago, where tension is mounting before the fabulous Donny Marie show kicks off, and some of Donny Osmond's most fervent fans are about to storm the ramparts. And I'm going to ask them why they love him so much.
After seeing him in Joseph in that loincloth, that did it.
She's the world's biggest Donny Osmond fan.
Are you both basically in love with Donny?
She is. Well, mine's
Really?
more of a like relationship.
If you could get him to sing for you now, what would you ask him to sing?
And they called it puppy love.
They called it puppy love.
Oh, they call it puppy love.
One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl. That's all I know.
The show is about to start. Go get Donny, girls. Come on, in you go. Some of these fans told me they've literally been coming to watch you perform 40, 50 years now.
That's amazing.
What do you feel about that?
Well, it's what an honor, you know.
So thousands of times.
I know of a lady in London, as a matter of fact, she lives in London, saw Joseph 97 times.
Nice.
I did 2,000 times. You're going to see a video that I did with my brothers. We did Love Me for a Reason. And obviously can't have them on stage and travel around with
I
them.
love that song.
I love it too.
I remember you all swaying together.
Yeah.
Love me for a reason.
We didn't look like that. We looked like this.
I remember it. I could be one of the band.
No, you couldn't.
Your
Pierce.
brothers aren't here. Come on.
Dream on, Pierce.
See?
Dream on.
I am now going to have one of the great honours of my life. I'm going to start the Donny and Marie show.
This is the countdown clock, and you're going to start it.
Osmonds, we are go. Donny's performing new songs in the show, but to the delight of his fans, he's knocking out all the old favourites too. Including, of course, Puppy Love, this time with a broken voice.
And they called it puppy love. Oh, I guess they'll never know.
But what did the audience make of tonight's show?
I loved it. I loved the Yvonne. We got Donny's shirt and I bought his bracelet. It said Donny Osmond. It was amazing. It brought back memories. He's still sexy. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, he's the sexiest man alive.
You've brought joy to so many for so many years, and I just wish you all God's blessings, and thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Huh? Well, I loved it.
They must have gotten my checks.
You know what I love, though? The generational span.
Yeah.
Of the women in the audience last night.
It is. What a compliment that is.
It really
to
is.
be able to have that span of generations. It's kind of cool.
It is cool. Of all the amazing things you've experienced, good and bad, with the exception of births of children, marriage, that kind of thing, what would be the moment you would replay again? What's been the greatest moment for you?
So many of them. Right now, I would pick that one moment here in Chicago. I was 5 years old, and I did my first show.
Would you really?
Yeah.
That surprises me.
Yeah. It defined who I am.
So good, bad,
I've gone
warts
through
and all.
ups and downs and in-betweens and everything, but that was the moment when I sang You Are My Sunshine. that did it. That started it.
Would you change anything? Or do you think all the highs and lows framed the man you've become?
I've gotten to the point now where I am Donny Osmond, and...
Are you comfortable with that?
I am. I am.
You've learned to love Donny again?
I wouldn't say I love Donny Osmond. You know, that's a little narcissistic. But I like me. I like who I am. I like the skin that I'm in. I'm not perfect, and I accept those flaws. I'm a very, very lucky guy compared to what I could have been because of the ups and downs and where I could have gone. I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed. Let's use that word, very blessed.
Well, Donny, it's taken me nigh on 35 years to come to terms with Donny Osmond, the damage he brought on my love life in those early years.
I'm sorry.
I've got to say, you've turned out to be a pretty good guy.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a real pleasure.
Same here, Piers.
Thank you very much.
Well, next tonight, a true Christmas classic. Dudley Moore stars as an enterprising elf who loses his job working for the big man, but he's got a big idea. Santa Claus, the movie, is over on ITV3 next. Here on ITV1, we're off to rural Berkshire for carols from Bucklebury after the news.